Okay, should be showing audio now. Let's see. Curious how it sounds. I've been finicky. Okay. Yeah, I've been playing with the audio settings. Had somebody complain that the on the podcast and it was fairly low, so not sure. Hopefully now this is a little bit better. For the podcast wise, I guess we haven't even started that yet, but I know we had some people complaining a couple episodes back too about in the live stream that it was low. So
Yeah.
hopefully it's good now.
If you want me to be louder, just say so. I can do it.
Nobody's asking that. Oh, okay. So we'll go ahead and hit the intro real quick and get started. We're actually doing a round table, and I suppose we'll get into that here in just a second, just on the other side of the intro here. And so let me hit the slide and mute us and play some intro action.
The Dark Tower by Stephen King. The man in black fled across the desert, and the gunslinger followed. Go then. There are other worlds than these. Death, but not for you, gunslinger. It's time we had our own palaver, I think, and it's going to take a while.
And yet, dauntless, the slug horn to my lips I set, and blew. Child Roland to the Dark Tower came.
We are quartet, one from many. Let the palaver begin.
Hello and welcome to Dark Tower Palaver. This is our podcast covering Stephen King's Magnum Opus, the Dark Tower series. My name is Tad.
And I'm Peter.
And we're here for roundtable number 57.
Is that right?
Yeah.
57?
Yeah, it is.
I feel that's
I know,
low.
And for, I guess, if people aren't listening, like up to date, if they're backlogging, or, well, I guess then they would know too, because we said last time that we'd be doing a book club this episode. But no, we changed it up. We're going to do the round table this episode. There's a little bit of news, and we were talking about doing a heavy email episode, so we'll go through the news and do a bunch of emails, and then we'll get back to Eddie next week. Next episode, I guess. Next episode.
Fine.
I do it just to torment Peter.
Hashtag Tad is terrible.
Wow.
Before the intros. That's got to be some kind of a record.
Maybe. I don't know. Sometimes I feel like they do get slid in there a little bit early. So, so we're going to be doing a round table, and we'll get into that in just a second. Also want to update a little bit of news about The Outsider. Peter has finally finished it.
Finally? What is this finally business? What do you mean finally?
You were slow for my taste.
You know what? I'm like Roland. I'm just a plotter, all right?
No, so we're looking hopefully to have a Unfound Door episode probably before the next time we're together for a normal episode. So keep an eye on your streams for that. I'm looking forward to that discussion for sure. And also, of course, there's part of me that can't wait to start The Stand, and I make it a rule not to jump into the next book until I've recorded for the previous book, just so I don't get my brain all discombobulated and start to cross streams and whatnot. So
don't ever cross the streams, Ray.
Yeah, no kidding. We're definitely gonna be seeing that pretty soon, which I'm excited for that conversation too. I really enjoyed that book. If anyone that listened last time and didn't get as much hype from us, I'll just say it one more time. Definitely put it on your to-do list, because it's definitely a great book for sure.
Yeah, Ted. I'll get into that in a little bit. We got to finish our intros.
Yeah.
I've been doing this really bad recently with our intros, where I sidetrack us on tangents before we even get through the intro. So I'm gonna be a good boy this time and wait.
Yeah, no, I just want to at least throw it out there that that's on the horizon,
Yep.
just as like a programming note. So we'll go ahead and jump into the intros real quick. First of all, if you haven't finished the 7 primary books of the Dark Tower series, you may want to cry off this podcast and focus on our book club episodes. We can and will spoil anything from the Dark Tower series. The 7 primary books is usually where spoilers become a little bit more touchy. Things like the comic books and stuff, the side stories, connected books. We're really we hold back on other books though. Outside of what they may impact the Dark Tower series, we're pretty cognizant to try not to talk too much about crazy spoilers for other books, just because there's people out there that haven't read them and stuff. But there are times that we dabble in them a tiny bit, but the 7 primary books is the main thing to be aware of. Also, you can find us on iTunes. You can stream us on Stitcher, and you can find us on any podcast services. If you could be so kind as to subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, we'd appreciate that. And you can find the show notes at darktowerpalaver.com, including the questions to answer if you are a new listener. And we actually have someone now, whether we get through all the emails and get to the newest email, but the newest email, the person actually did grab the questions off of there. So
nice. Excellent.
Yeah, I was like, oh, that's cool to see people find those questions, because we've never really had them down before.
No.
It's one of those things that a list kind of evolved over the years, and then we just kind of like threw it out there. And like some people that usually sent that list would have sent it because they listened to an episode where we kind of hit those questions or added to them or maybe rehashed them a tiny bit to like throw them out there. But we never had it as a hard copy thing. So I'm definitely happy to have that. And the next up is we are an extended quartet. If you're new, you may not know that, but you are now part of it. And as such, we want you guys to be part of the show. And there's a few different ways to do that. Peter can let you know all of those different ways.
Best way to reach us is fill out an email. It's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. Like Tad said, fill out those questions on the website and send it in to us. We also have communities on Facebook and Twitter. Facebook is facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And then also give us a follow on the Twitter. It's @DarkTowerPod. That's @DarkTowerPod. We started streaming shows, when was that? Last year on YouTube? Is that?
Probably sounds about right.
Right about then?
Yeah.
That's youtube.com/DarkTowerPalaver. You can check out some older shows there. Not all of them. But you can also tune in live with us like we are now. We have a couple people here in the chat with us. Cody was there. I know I saw that.
Yeah, and if the YouTube counter is right, we have somebody else, but they have not chimed in just yet. So
wait, does it say 2 or?
It says 3 total, because you count as one as well.
I do?
Yeah.
I count as a real person?
Yeah.
Yay!
Yes, indeed. So yeah, that's the ways to engage with us. And yeah, we've definitely found it's awesome to have the live chat. Since we've been doing this, I think it's worked out really well to have people interacting with us, be it reminding us things that are slipping our mind, which happened last time a few times, or even just to engage in the discussion as we go. So Cody asks, Peter is real?
Yes, I'm a real boy.
Well, there may be some debate there, but
shut up, Tad.
Okay, so yeah, we like I said, we're going to be having an the Outsider book club or Unfound Door episode coming shortly, and it'll be the first Unfound Door episode that Peter will be joining us on. So I'm really excited about that. So far, it's just been me talking, and that always feels weird. I don't know. It just feels.
I need to go listen to one of your Unfound Doors. Guilty confession. I haven't had a chance to listen to one yet.
Yeah.
You've done Salem's Lot and The Shinning, right?
Yeah, I didn't, because I decided to do it after I finished Carrie. It was actually midway through Salem's Lot, as I was going through reading Stephen King stuff, that I decided I wanted to do these episodes. I kind of had the lightning bolt to do them.
Yeah.
So yeah, I've done The Shining and Salem's Lot, and yeah, I think that's it. That's all I've done
Just
so
those
far.
two so far.
Yeah.
So The Outsider. And then obviously the big one is going to be The Stand.
Yeah, and that's coming up next. So once we get that episode recorded, I can start listening to The Stand, and who knows how many Unfound Doors that might bring us.
Oh, good Lord.
With the kind of book that is. Maybe
I think the only one that may even come close to rivaling that is if we do one for it. There's a lot in it to talk about.
No,
I mean, don't get me wrong, Stand is a lot to talk about. I mean, I know where a lot of our discussions are going to focus in The Stand, and I think honestly that it's going to breach out into a classic tale of good versus evil in our podcast as well. You know, me being the good, you being the evil, of course. I mean, that goes without saying.
All those good folk down in Las Vegas.
Boulder. Come on. Come on.
Boulder Dash, as I say to that.
Quiet you. There's a reason Vegas is called the City of Sin. I mean, come on. Sin City?
I don't know. You know, like Colorado had that devil's lettuce legalized long before Vegas did.
Yeah, well, Vegas has had, a lot of other things legalized long before anybody else, but let's not talk about that.
Oh, I'm really excited for this getting back to the stand, though, because longtime listeners know I basically read that once a year, and because of the Stephen King, going through his books, I held off last year. It's the first year I haven't read it, pretty much since I got into reading the stand for the first time. It's just one that I always feel drawn back to, so I'm really excited for that. And then obviously, if you're keeping track at home, The Outsider is definitely not the next book after The Shining. No. So I've also decided to break it up and go less chronologically and more just kind of bounce around to allow me to kind of go a little bit with my moods and stuff. I feel like it'll get me through them faster, because I feel like at times, like availability issues with like Rage and I'm blanking on the next one that was after that.
You keep forgetting that one.
But that one it had some issues with finding copies of it as well. Or not copies. I think there was no audiobook, and that's definitely going to be the quicker way for me to get through things is audiobook, just being able to listen to it when I'm out and about driving or whatever,
to and from work.
A lot of times I even bring my phone with my audiobooks to eating and stuff. Like if I'm going to go grab something to eat, I'll listen to something while I'm eating. So just things like that. So
Cody just asked Rage ?
That's the
tell him, not me.
Yeah,
I know what it is.
I'm trying to think let me find my list here. Yeah, Rage is the next one that Is
it a novel or a short story? I keep getting that mixed up.
Stephen King checklist. Let me pull it up here. It is where are we at here? Rage 1977, and then Night Shift is the other one. Yeah, so Rage is hard to find, actually, because apparently, if I have read it correctly in terms of the details about it, it's about a school shooter, and as such, Stephen King has let that one slide out of print, and the only way you can find it now is with a collection of stories. So you got that, and then I got Night Shift, which are both not as easy to find. But then The Stand is after that, so after The Outsider, I'll go hit The Stand, and then from there I'll decide. Maybe I'll start looking into grabbing some of those hard copies and diving into some of those, so I don't go too crazy. I don't want to bounce around too much, but definitely didn't want to miss another new King novel, because I don't know, I've missed the last couple. I'm trying to think here. I guess I've listened to the Bill Hodges, but The Bizarre Bad Dreams and Revival I haven't read yet. So some of these more recent ones I haven't had a chance to enjoy as they've come out. So with The Outsider, there was just something about it. I was just like, no, I'm going to hit this one, and rules be damned and chronological order be damned. So yeah, that's that. So we're going to jump into some news first, and then we will get into, we can check on the Hat Watch, as Peter is going through the Wastelands now, correct? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Since I finished Outsider, I started going back into Wastelands. I figured that wasn't going to be anything that severely distracts me from the Outsider and everything like that. And also with it, I can't stop. I'm too much of a junkie, and by the way, I'm on Wizarding Glass now.
Yeah. How far in?
Topeka.
Okay, so you're not into the good stuff yet.
No, they just read the newspaper.
Okay.
Literally, listen to that as I pulled into your driveway today.
Oh, I see. Yeah, so we are going to jump into news, and if you follow the news, there's I don't know, I find a hard time getting as hyped up about this as a lot of people are, including bloggers and stuff like that, the quote unquote nerd news type stuff versus whatever. But it is encouraging for sure. So we'll go ahead and get into it. The headline is Amazon studio head Jennifer Salke on strategy, Lord of the Rings series, battle for talent, and transparent end game and Q&A. Or it is a Q&A. So just to give some background, I wanted to grab some of the stuff from the beginning here, because if we're going to be dealing with Amazon, it's good to kind of know how things are running at Amazon and, whatever. And this article kind of synopsized some of it. So it'd be good for some of us to catch up to it, to kind of know what we're dealing with for leadership of things. I think we did some of the same stuff when that article dropped with MRC and, and some of the Sony deals and stuff like that.
That name sounds familiar. Is that the one that tweeted out that thing about it and then it got deleted?
Yes, I think no. That was that was somebody lower in the company. So Jennifer is the new head of Amazon Studios. It kind of covers it here.
Okay.
But the one that we found the tweet about was actually like the head of I'm trying to remember what it was, like genre. The head of genre content or something like
Okay.
It would be a subsidiary. It'd definitely be someone that was working underneath Miss Jennifer Salke, I think is how you'd say it. But yeah, we'll go ahead and jump into it here. So this is from Nelly Andriva from Deadline on June 11th, 2018. And it was a Deadline exclusive. They're the ones that have the interview here, although every blog and their mothers also covered some of the stuff, because there was a lot covered in this, including, like the headline says, like Transparent, which is one of their first big shows that Amazon had in terms of winning awards and stuff like that. The Lord of the Rings, which is obviously big, and then of course Wheel of Time, which I feel like is in the same realm as Dark Tower. I mean, we've had a movie, they haven't, but that's kind of one of those big franchises that's been waiting for movies or an adaptation for a long time. So there's a little bit, but let's get into the intro first. Starts off here, says 4 months after former NBC Entertainment president Jennifer Salke was named Amazon studio head in one of the most scrutinized and public executive searches ever conducted. She is settling in her new office in the famous Gone with the Wind mansion at Culver Studios. So there's that in terms of, so she hasn't been in the job very long, and she was formerly with NBC television.
Okay.
And it says, it's been a time of profound change at Amazon Studios, which was rocked by scandal last fall when the original head, Roy Price, exited amidst allegations of sexual harassment, followed by his top TV lieutenant, Joe Lewis. So you saw kind of a cutting off of the head at Amazon Studios. Two of their top people exited due to some of the sexual harassment stuff that's been pretty prevalent in Hollywood. Yeah. It goes on and says the company TV division had just signaled a major programming shift away from smaller shows with narrow appeal in favor of big global genre hits the size of Game of Thrones. A directive reportedly coming directly from Amazon topper Jeff Bezos, which obviously one of the richest people in the world, the guy that started Amazon out of his garage and is now
a billionaire.
Yeah, I think a tens of billionaire type guy.
Lord.
Yeah, indeed. So he's
just give me one.
He's quite the big fish there, and the rumors have been around for a while that he basically said that he wants the next Game of Thrones on Amazon, and he doesn't care about the cost. That's always been the rumor. Yeah. So, and then it says, it goes on here. It says in an interview with Deadline's Nelly Andriva and Mike Fleming Jr., Salke discusses her programming strategy and escalating arms race for talent that has led to the slew of eight-figure overall deals over the last few months for Ryan Murphy and Shonda Rhimes at Netflix, and for Greg Berlanti at Warner Brothers. She also talked about Amazon TV's Lord of the Rings series Impossible, Peter Jackson involvement, the plan of how to end Transparent, and the Status of Freshman series, the Dangerous Book for boys, and the projects in development, The Wheel of Time and The Dark Tower. She also addressed the prospect of Amazon's pilot model and multicam comedy. So yeah, kind of laying out some of what they talked about here, but we'll get to the main question after that. That just gave some I guess some feel where Amazon's at. They've
and who she is.
Yeah, and who she is, because Amazon's generally been a little bit more. They haven't had the grandeur of things like Netflix and even Hulu and stuff. And it sounds like they definitely want to change that. And I think we even covered it when that Deadline article, if I recall, it was Deadline, that just kind of threw Dark Tower out there, kind of really willy nilly, when they talked about like Wheel of Time, and there was like 5 or 6 other franchises they said Amazon was buying up stuff about. So I feel like they're just buying up a bunch of stuff, and they're just going to see what pans out almost. So this is the Deadline portion of the interview. It's one of the ones where you'll get the question and the answer. So Deadline asks, what is the status of other high-profile genre projects that have been in early development at Amazon or stuck in deal-making limbo for a long time? The Wheel of Time, based on a fantasy book, and The Dark Tower, based on the book and the movie. And Salke's answer, those are scripts I haven't gotten yet. I'll be seeing that material in the coming weeks. None of the things are dead. They're all very much alive.
Oh, good.
So yeah, from that tweet that we talked about that got deleted and stuff, I think that kind of took a little bit of the excitement out of this, because I feel like we already kind of got a sense of what things were, where they were at. But here you now have very official and very not just like, ooh, tweet it and then delete it 5 minutes later, but the head of Amazon Studios saying that the projects are not dead. So
yeah, and not just in a tweet either. This is like an official interview with a news agency like Deadline. So I mean that puts a lot of weight, I feel, behind it.
Yeah,
this is where I'm starting to feel like the Dark Tower movie, where we kept hearing rumors for almost a decade, and then finally it was Entertainment Weekly when we got that article and everything like that.
Yeah,
when we found out that Anthony Breznican was doing an article, that's basically where it was like, okay,
yeah,
this is real, kind of thing.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess and then from there, a lot of, like I said, every blog and their moms were, blogging about this and going into like what they think should or should not be done. So we've talked in broader senses, but I wanted to talk about just what do you think now? If push came to shove, if Jennifer Salke here came to you and said, okay, we're doing Dark Tower, what do you want? Because we talked about generalities, we talked about things they could do, but like ultimately, what do you want to see?
The first and foremost thing that I want to see is Wizard and Glass.
Yeah,
I think that's the best thing they could do at this point, is kind of not necessarily a hard reset, but kind of a soft reset, where if they want to change, the direction and actors and everything like that, that would be a great place to start. Is where we start with Roland telling a story. And I think it would be really interesting if they do it in a way. I'm watching a new TV show, and they did a season finale where they had the doors open, introducing a new boss. The elevator doors open, but they didn't show who it was. Cliffhanger, obviously.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, but I can see why they did that. Give it a chance to cast over the the break and everything, like the season break and everything. So honestly, what I could see is Roland just sitting around a campfire, telling a story, but you don't see his companions.
Yeah.
Kind of give it a fresh start and everything like that.
Yeah.
And then I would want a 10 to 12 part Wizard and Glass.
Okay.
I know some people have said that may be a little bit too long. Not for me.
Yeah.
Because the big thing is that if you wanted to, go back a little bit and include some of the stuff from Gilead.
Yeah.
Court, Roland's trial, Martin and Gabrielle.
Yeah.
Gabrielle or Gabriella? It's Gabrielle, isn't it?
Now that you're asking me, I'm blanking, but I think it's
Gabrielle. Is it Gabrielle or Gabrielle?
Yeah, I think it's Gabrielle. If I remember, but now that doesn't. Neither of them sound right in my head.
No,
it's because you asked.
Roland's
me.
Mom,
yeah,
and Martin, and all that stuff. I think that would be a great first episode to start off with. Is the training, David, hacks, the end, the trial is the very end of that first episode. Draw a lot of people in and everything like that.
No, I think you go with the trial, the hanging, and that kind of stuff. And I feel like the best way to end an episode would be the reveal with Martin and the mom.
Well, you can't have the trial without that.
Oh, you mean that trial? I thought you meant Hax's trial.
No. Hax didn't have a trial. He was just guilty.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no trials in Gilead. There's a hanging, and then the Roland's trial for manhood is what I meant. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I see.
So and then I think the episode should end with Steven kicking in the door and laying the hard love on Roland.
Okay.
And then the second episode starts with them on their way to Magus, And I think that would be a great miniseries. And the thing is that if it takes and a lot of people like it, the big thing is okay, season 2, go back to Roland and you introduce the people who he's talking to.
Yeah.
And that's where Aaron Paul gets cast.
Okay.
That's all that matters is Aaron Paul is Eddie.
So I wanted to press you a little bit further on it then. So in terms of casting then, what would you want to see?
What would I mean, if I had my dream casting, I want Idris Elba back.
Okay.
And then I want someone who can play a younger Roland, obviously.
Yeah.
I would love, I just spaced on his name, Roland's dad in the movie.
Dennis Hathbert.
Dennis Hathbert would be back as his dad. Age him down a little bit or something. Tom Taylor, Tom Holland.
Tom Taylor.
I get the Toms mixed up. Tom Taylor would be back as Jake, because I don't care.
Yeah.
I think it would be fantastic. And then season 2, if I had my way, would be drawing of the 3, basically. Drawing the first would be Jake and Roland would come through. Maybe that's what I would do, is just have Roland telling Jake the story.
Yeah. Yeah, you can always do that. That's for sure.
I think it would cheapen it a little bit, not having the whole quartet, not having, Susanna, Eddie, and Oi there.
Yeah. Now, what about just removing the whole storytelling aspect and just showing it in some way?
That's a very good possibility.
I mean, the other thing too is that you could even. I mean, that's one of those weird things. Like you'd always do it to where like you play it into where as the season ends, it's like where he was reflecting on it, and that could be him reflecting on it. Him reflecting.
What if it's him standing on Blaine because he hears the thinny and he almost faints and he thinks about her? What if it just comes back and like that's the memory hitting him and that's why he almost faints? Imagine that you get a hit with a memory of almost a year of your life, kind of thing, from the last training with Core to the trial all the way up to Charyu Tree and coming home. Imagine getting hit with all those memories, like vivid memories, not just like, oh yeah, I forgot about her, kind of thing. That would make anyone almost faint. That would be a really good start.
Yeah. Now, in terms of
but then they skip Blaine. Damn it! No, that doesn't work.
Then the thing is, I guess the other thing with all of this is I want to make sure it's clear that I'm asking these questions to listeners as well. So if people wanted to email in and answer these same questions, I want to know what everyone's opinion is. When it comes down to when it just push comes to shove and figure out where we're at, what do people want to see? And like, honestly, I'm kind of in a spot where I'm just like 50-50. Like I'm totally okay with them just going completely reboot.
Mm-hmm.
And, if it ends up, because I don't have any hope that Idris would do it.
Yeah.
I don't think he's in like the TV realm anymore. So it may very well be something they need to recast. And, if they do that, there's part of me that thinks that you could do book 4 for the first season, but I feel like it needs to go into for the second season. I believe it needs to go and address book 1 then, in my opinion. If you're breaking ranks from the movie altogether, which again, we know that like theoretically, like it wasn't like the kind of bomb that a lot of blogs out there try to make it in terms of like box office, because it was a cheaper movie. But at the same time, we can't delude ourselves to thinking that it was successful in any way. So it is one of those things that it may very well be. As much as we may have enjoyed it, doesn't mean that it was successful. So maybe they do have to break from it to give it a fresh appeal, just like the whole Tom Holland thing in Civil War. After you had the Amazing Spider-Man 2, not that long before that, like it was one of the shortest periods between
a recasting,
like a reboot basically. But ultimately, it came out for the best. So it makes me wonder, with everyone in the extended quartet, I'd love to hear what your guys' thoughts are too. What would you guys want to see? But I wonder if, and the other thing, I guess, would you want to see the horn in the show? In terms of, do you want it to be just because taking that down to the basis level is, do you want to see the series tell us the story the same way we've read it in the books, or do we want to see something different? Because now that you're doing a TV show, you're going to have the ability to go long form and potentially not have to worry about cutting out things in terms of whatever. So like what we really enjoyed about having the horn with the movie was it's like, oh, that opens up the opportunity to change things, to adapt it for a movie and be okay with it because it's a different cycle. Do we want to see a different cycle? Do we want to see the same cycle? Do we want to see a different cycle but that ends the same way? Do we want to see one that, because then they have the freedom of it being different, but at the same time it ends the same way? Because there is still part of me that wants the viewer to get the same ending we did. I feel like in some ways, not to be not to connect it to something that may be a little bit disconnected, but like I feel like with the Game of Thrones, there's like the Red Wedding, for instance. It's like it's one of the pinnacles of that series, and I feel like Roland at the Tower is the pinnacle of this series. There's a lot of great stuff there, but in terms of overall talk, when you go on the message boards, be it the subreddit or any kind of message board that's Dark Tower related, the ending is always one of the central points to conversations that people have, because it's one of the most unique aspects. I don't want to say the most unique, because there's a lot of unique aspects of the series, but that ending is definitely one that
is one of a kind.
It's exactly
for sure.
Yeah, it's something you're not going to find anywhere else. And that, or maybe the Stephen King being involved. But again, if you did like not the final time around, but it was a different one, then now you could skip out on the Stephen King stuff. Even like listen to Uncle Stevie, where he says he doesn't want to see that on screen. He doesn't want to see himself portrayed on screen. So
I think the biggest thing that we could do is, I think book 4 would be one of our best straight to film
entry
adaptations.
points.
Well, not only entry points.
Yeah.
I think a straight
For,
almost
for quality of adaptation.
For quality of
easiest.
adaptation, I think it's going to be the easiest, hands down. The very close second is Drawing of the Three. The only thing I think that I could see them changing is, we've talked about this before, is Susanna's legs. I think that could definitely be something that they address, whether it be one leg and it's, then she can wear pants or something like that and has the prosthetic leg or something like that. I think that, if you're going to bring a wheelchair and I mean, if money's no expense, I mean, yeah, do the amputated and everything like that. Do the wheelchair and her having to crawl in certain scenes and everything like that.
Yeah.
It's something that they could do. I could very easily see them changing that, and I'd totally be okay with that.
Yeah.
She lost one leg to Jack Moore, not two, and everything.
Yeah.
I could see that. But book 4 is easily I think the easiest way for them to bring in a new audience and revamp it from the TV show. And I think you may be right. Looking at it, I'm not going to throw my hat into one side, and I know that's kind of, wishy-washy, not picking a side. But I can understand if Idris and Matthew McConaughey and Tom don't want to come back to the series.
Yeah.
I'm not going to hold that against them. I honestly do. I don't necessarily believe that it's the material's fault. I don't believe it was the movie's fault necessarily. We've been over where I stand on.
But I mean, we're at a spot right now where the latest Star Wars movie, for all intents and purposes, was a failure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's but I was reading that the projections now are showing. Oh, no, it's starting up. Oh, there we go. Okay, maybe. Let's see, it's showing as though we're still having some. Okay, let's see if it goes there now. It's showing green on that side. Let's see if it converts to connecting to YouTube. Seems like once it connects to YouTube, it starts to get a little bit finicky there.
It says live stream offline now.
On my side, it shows stream is continuing. Okay, let's see. Nothing on your end yet?
Mm-mm. Try going.
Okay. My side is showing.
We're back.
Yeah, my side's showing all right. Yeah, it's like flashing between she's dead, Jim. Oh man. Yeah, this thing gets kind of annoying at times.
Cody says we're back.
Yeah. I'm like blinking now. It's starting to show green again on my side. I have like a little like status thing that shows. Let me get this over here where I can actually see it. Okay, I'll keep an eye on that.
Okay.
It keeps flashing to yellow and then red again. I don't know what's going on. Well, it's holding. It's not screwing us yet, but yeah, so that's when it comes to like we're in a spot now. I mean, there was also the one that I was reading about recently was that movie that had Oprah and Kelly from The Office in it.
A Wrinkle in Time.
Yeah, like that one didn't do well. Like there's movies that for all intents and purposes should do good. Yeah, see, we're having issues again. Well, no, maybe we're not. Okay, I just saw a little swirly thing on the twirling like it's buffering, and it's all right. No, we're good though. But like, so we're in a spot where you have all these movies that should do well and just didn't. So it's one of those like, and of course last year was one of the worst box office years.
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah, so I mean it is one of those things. But of course we could look at things like Stephen King said, and like the backing away from being kind of more brutal may have been a thing that hurt it. Like that it should have been a rated R thing. And I feel like if nothing else, the book 4 stuff gives them every opportunity to be pretty violent. I mean, in the first episode, you're going to be talking about hacks being killed. You're going to talk about children being beaten by court, and you're going to be seeing the trial.
Pretty violent trial.
Yeah, exactly. So I feel like it might be a good way to like give like a palate cleanse to everyone. I mean, and again, I know that like you and I enjoyed the movie, but in the same way, like it could be kind of like one of those things to like help you break away from any previous expectations.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of like in my head like something like Deadpool Like Deadpool had a cinematic showing up before the first Deadpool movie, and so we kind of needed something to kind of wash that out of our minds to readjust to the fact that, okay, you've got something new now. You could even like vaguely say that about Logan. I feel like Logan kind of did a certain job early on in that movie of like making you recalibrate the fact of like, okay, this isn't like where you've seen him in the previous films. Like, this is going to be different.
Yeah, this isn't X-Men 3. This isn't, Days of Future Past or anything like that.
X-Men Origins Wolverine.
None of that stuff.
Yeah. So I feel like even if you liked the movie, it could be like one of those like palate cleansers to where you'd then be able to like realize going in that there's something a whole lot different that you're going to be seeing in this one.
Right.
And yeah, I don't know if like, but I think it has to be that though. It has to be as brutal as possible, like just normal streaming style, not rated in a lot of ways to where they can do whatever they want.
Well, I think one of the big things is that if they want something to compete with Game of Thrones, they can't do something half-assed. And that seriously to me includes what is one of the things that Game of Thrones is most famous for. You say Game of Thrones to even just a casual fan, what are they going to say?
Nudity is probably the first thing.
Damn, there's a lot of tits, and damn, there's a lot of bloodshed.
Yeah.
Like, that was the thing that I heard about Game of Thrones. Because I didn't come into Game of Thrones until the third season had aired and completed.
Yeah.
And I don't think it was it you that got me into it? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was. So it would have been a little bit later. I want to say season 5.
No, season 4 for me.
5 or 6 is the first one that I watched, so it wouldn't have been because I turned you on to it. So,
but I caught it in the off season, so I think we watched the same season.
Was
live.
it season 5? I think is what
it might
was.
have been.
Yeah,
yeah, because like the Red Wedding and everything like that. Like the first thing that really caught me off guard with Game of Thrones was just how brutal the show was. Not even necessarily the nudity. I mean, that doesn't. It's one of those things that it is famous for. I will say that.
Yeah, but yeah,
you're absolutely right.
Yeah,
but the brutality.
But it doesn't
of the
shy
show,
from the brutality.
No, it doesn't.
And be that blood and guts, or be that just the brutality of the world, like the nature of those people. Like the way they treat each other, the way they treat other people, the way they treat underlings. Like it doesn't have to just be guts splattering on the ground. Like there's brutality seen in every way of that show.
Well, I mean, even like the stuff that Joffrey did and everything like that. Not going into spoilers for Game of Thrones because that's not what we're about and everything like that. But like you're talking about with like the stuff that they hinted at as well.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's that thing that King Robert does in the first season that it really is still one of the most messed up things that happened in the show, and it never gets talked about. Yeah. With like the thing that he sent his soldiers out to do in the city and everything. That just what I'm talking about, right?
Maybe.
I
don't know. It's
the bastards.
Yeah, there's no way to really go too deep without spoilers. But.
Yeah, so like like that thing, like I think that Amazon has a really good opportunity, and I think you may be right here with the clean slate and the get that taste out of your mouth, that palate cleanser.
Yeah.
And I think the Wizard and Glass is the thing to do.
Because I think even those of us that like the movie really would have loved to have seen a rated R movie. I think.
Oh, hands down, so, no doubt.
Yeah,
if you would have given me Idris Elba and Matthew McConaughey in a rated R film, and I would have had to wait another year, I would have taken it easily. If I would have had to wait 5 more years, I would have probably taken it. That would be
yeah,
that would be the tough one there. But I think easily I would have taken a rated R movie over a PG-13 one any day of the week.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then Travis in the chat says he just watched Logan today for the first time. That's kind of funny bringing that
wow.
up. It's the first thing I watch it. I need to watch it again. I haven't watched it since the first weekend it came out. I own it and stuff, but I haven't gone back and rewatched it. But yeah,
it's one of the rare movies where I had a better experience at home than I did in the theater.
Oh, really?
But I made the mistake of watching it in a theater that I wasn't familiar with. This theater dude was older than us. That just tells you how bad it is. Like,
yeah,
this theater, dude, the theater still had the freaking dip style. Where like the back row is high and then it dips down and goes back up.
Yeah.
Like that horrible design from what was the 80s. They thought that was a good idea.
Yeah, something like that.
Dumbasses.
Yeah. So when it comes to listeners, just let us know, chime in on some of those questions. What do you guys want to see? What do you guys hope to see in terms of reboot versus not reboot? I think book 4 is pretty much set in stone. So I don't, like ultimately, if you want to see something else, you can say it, but just don't count on it. But,
Yeah.
but I guess if nothing else, with where we come out of the flashback, where do you want to see Roland? Do you want to see him in the desert contemplating things, as the first line of the book would then portray in some way?
Yeah.
After he's like kind of thought about his past or whatever. Or do you want to see it where he's telling the story to people, and we're right at the beginning of book 2? Maybe he's just talking to Jake. Do you want to see? I mean, where? It could be anywhere, really.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's hard. Where do you guys want to see it on the other side of the flashback? And the other thing I was thinking too,
Yeah.
like call it palate cleanser, is like, even if you did it like decently in the first few episodes, Charyu Tree, that's gonna be something to really show that like this show doesn't fuck around, like
Absolutely.
in the way that like I think like Game of Thrones, like there's a singular thing that like the creators of the show said the main reason they wanted to do it was because of a certain scene, and it's like the Red Wedding. So it's like one of those things where like, I don't know what that would be for us. I think that one of the ones in my mind I want to see more than anything would probably be like the Blaine stuff.
Yeah.
But I don't know if that's necessarily in the realm of like brutality or whatever, as much as like, done in the right way. It'd be really tense and really like edge of your seat stuff. But I feel like Charyu Tree and Blaine, and then the end with Roland at the tower, I feel like those things are like kind of like would be like some of the high spots in my opinion. That'd be interesting to see, because we'd be seeing one of those at the end of the first season with the rest of those parsed out over time.
I think it would be very interesting to see just book 7 as a whole, as what plays out in book 7 with Jake, Eddie, Oi, Susanna leaving him and everything like that. That would definitely fuck with a lot of fans' minds.
Yeah.
That's definitely one of the things that messed with me the most is, my favorite character got gunned down.
Yeah.
So.
You know what, too, when it comes to being on TV versus in movies, is there are different rights involved. It's the reason that, like, there's Batman shows on different things versus who does the Batman movies. So that makes me think that when it gets to Father Callahan, you would be able to just show straight up his entire story, be that taking an entire episode or maybe even 2, including the Salem's Lot stuff, because you may have Salem's Lot rights for the movies, but TV show wise, I would wonder if those rights are as tied up as the movie ones would be.
If Amazon was smart, what they would seriously do is find a way to tie a bunch of series to this series, and then just create this world, Stephen King world.
Yeah, that's why I wish it was on Hulu.
Yeah,
originally
you could include 11/22/63
and Castle Rock that's coming up. So I mean, it's good though. I'm glad. I mean, Amazon's done a good job with like Man in the High Castle and stuff, and like I feel like with where they're at, I mean, because I feel like the danger of Netflix right now is they're releasing so much content that I feel like getting lost in it is easy. So like, just because you got something like if Dark Tower got signed with Netflix, I'd be a little bit worried about is it going to get lost in the mix of 1,000 fucking things they're going to release this year, or is it going to be something that people can find? And
yeah, Travis echoed our concerns that Hulu has a lot of King content right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I don't know. It'd be interesting to see, and I even wonder with some of the stuff, like again with the TV rights, is something like It. Could they reference some elements of It in some way? Like Derry, Maine, or whatever. I don't know. It'd be interesting to see what they can get away with. And
the nice thing is, there's a lot of King to choose from. I mean, there's a lot of stuff out there that they could go into. The one that I would love to see a reference to is The Shining, Dr. Sleep, and everything like that.
Yeah,
I loved how they changed it in the movie to the touch is the shine and everything like that.
Yeah,
I would love to see them continue with that in the miniseries.
Yeah.
Speaking of that, the casting news for Dr. Sleep was pretty exciting.
Oh yeah. There's been a little bit of Stephen King news. I was gonna hit on it more toward the end of like the news section, but we got Ewan McGregor was cast as Danny Torrance.
That's phenomenal, dude.
Yeah, for Dr. Sleep. Yeah,
that's so cool.
That's pretty incredible. And also, The Outsider was signed to a 10 episode limited series, so that's pretty cool. Looking forward to that. That'll be really fun. And I do believe I've seen some rumblings. I believe that the second season of Bill Hodges is in the works.
Mr. Mercedes.
So, yeah. Now the thing is what little I heard about it almost makes it seem like they're going to the third book.
Really?
Because Brady didn't.
Oh yeah,
Brady didn't have that big of a part
in the second.
And like one of the things they were really pushing is talking about weird things happening to people in the hospital where Brady's at.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's skipping this. I mean, I guess you could if you wanted to just do that and then have like, because because 2 of those 3 books are more connected than the other one, so I could see them maybe shuffling it or whatever. But yeah, that's definitely in the works, so I'm really excited about that. And Travis says he's confident that Amazon will take the subject matter seriously, and yeah, I definitely, I would say, I mean, the thing is, I haven't read like the book for Man in the High Castle, so I don't know like how good they've done with that to like staying to the book. I know they've done a little bit of adapting because it's like films rather than books that are the thing that is showing people the alternate reality of war or the war.
Is it books in the book?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So it's different a little bit, but overall I would venture to say it's probably fairly close. Like, I mean, without having read it, it does feel a little bit more. It doesn't feel as like cookie cutter storytelling that you would generally see in TV shows or movies. So it makes me think they're probably pulling enough from the book to keep some of the spirit of it. But
and they also didn't shy away from any of the violence or gruesomeness of that story.
No.
I mean, it's been a while since I've watched season 1, and I only watched the first episode of season 2 before I lost interest in it. Not necessarily lost interest in it. I had something else to watch. I can't remember what it was. I think it might have been.
There's so much I need to watch, dude.
There's so much to watch that something else took precedence over it. I think what it was, I threw it on to go watch, and then like season 2 of Daredevil dropped or something like that. So.
See, I still haven't watched Jessica Jones season 2.
Seriously, dude?
Yeah.
What the hell?
I'm way behind.
Dude,
I'm way behind on everything right now.
Shame.
Yeah, something like that.
Ding.
So yeah, that's that. And also, I just want to throw it in there in terms of for this episode, when this episode drops, be looking at our show notes for this episode, because I am going to polish out and finalize the Dreamcasting thing that I've been building for everyone to fill out and who they want to see. And the way that'll work is you'll be able to fill out any character that I have on there. None of them will be like required. So if you want to just skip a character, if you don't really have any inclination of who you want to see, but if you do, go ahead and do that. I'm mostly going to keep it to the solid characters of book 4, more of the central characters. There might be some smaller characters I'm going to miss. I'm not going to get into like Eddie and Susanna, Jake, things like that, because I just want to look at what season 1 is going to be, and then from there we can start looking at further stuff. So look at that for the show notes and fill that out, because I'm excited to talk about that with everyone.
Perfect time for me to be listening to that book.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. So that's that. That's the talk there when it comes to it. And then Travis also says, I think the Dark Tower will rise up if it's done right. If they are true to the story and nab some great actors, then the show will get by with word of mouth and critical acclaim. My fingers are crossed. And yeah, I believe so too. I feel like if they're true to what is there in terms of, and that even includes being rated R, quote unquote, without, I mean, you don't rate stuff that's on streaming, but getting it to where it's the right content level and that kind of stuff, and capturing the characters, and just and you can change elements of the book. You don't have to go straight shot for shot, like that's just unrealistic. But if the core of it's true, people will follow. I feel like if nothing else, the MCU has taught people that.
No kidding.
They've changed up quite a bit. Things like the Civil War, Age of Ultron, things like that, even though the titles are direct rips from title, even Infinity War, straight rips from comic book titles, but those comic books are very little I mean, there's some similarities, but
there's vast differences.
Yeah, there's a lot of big differences. I mean, even Civil War, like the root.
I just read through that.
The root of the Civil War in the comic books is almost entirely different than in the
entirely
series. So,
different.
I mean, there's some small overlaps, but yeah. So it's one of those things you don't have to have exact things, but what it comes down to is at the core are the characters true to what people know, and that's I think what us readers are going to be looking at is, do these characters reflect the characters that we all know fairly well, I think.
Yeah, if they portray Eddie as some guy from Jersey, I'm just going to lose my goddamn mind.
Oh, man, and he's not a junkie.
Yeah.
He has to have that. That's crucial to him there.
If we're doing the drawing the 3. If not, then no, it's not.
Well, you got to get to drawing the 3, though. I don't think you can miss that on that one.
Yeah, if they skip drawing the 3. Oh.
Hold on a second. On my end, it's showing like stream is not going, but is it showing?
It shows good on mine.
Okay, I think this thing's just. I'm gonna refresh my thing. I think it's kind of finicky. Okay, either way. So yeah, there's that. Now let's see, where are we at here? We are.
Travis even says we're good in the
chat. Okay. It's just weird. At the very top, I have a thing that shows live and the stream health and stuff, and it shows the color. Suddenly, it just went gray and it says stream is complete. So it looked like the stream completely ended.
Oh, jeez.
So like, yeah, all right, whatever. One other thing I wanted to get into. And we can hit through this fairly quickly so we can get into emails and give them ample time. But I thought this is fun to go through. Okay. And this is from Shawshank Redemption to Carrie, 10 Greatest Stephen King Movies. And this is from Holly Mosley from contactmusic.com on June 4th, 2018. So I don't know, I thought this would be fun to look at because I feel like there's so many out there.
June 4th?
14th.
Okay.
14th. Yeah. So yeah, I thought this would be fun to look at. There's a lot of them out there that are doing like worst movies ever made and stuff like, and I keep seeing like different things like that. But I'm like, I think in general we've been a more positive show. So when I found this, I'm like, oh, let's go ahead and take a look. You'll just have to keep in mind what you assume will be on the list and tell me if any of them surprise you.
Okay.
Just overall. So the first one is the 2007 movie by Frank Darabont. The Mist, number 10. One of my favorites, actually. It's
a great movie.
It's one of my favorites.
So
love the ending.
You know that channel you got me addicted to, Watch Mojo on YouTube?
Yeah.
They had a
I will say, yeah, if you haven't noticed over the last couple episodes, we're also junkies for lists.
Yeah, they had a top 10 times that a villain got a insult in on a good guy.
Yeah.
That was hard not to smile at, basically I can't remember exactly how it was worded, but it was top 10 times that a bad guy got one off on the good guy and we cheered, basically.
Yeah.
The Mist made it like number 7, that religious lady mouthing off to the blonde in the bathroom.
Oh,
that made the list, and it just made my skin crawl.
I know how much you love her.
You suck so bad, Ted. I hate you. That's the only reason this is on here, isn't it? Is because of this movie.
No,
and you can bring up the religious lady.
It certainly added to the reason to add it on there.
Jerk.
Are you surprised this one made it? No, for top 10. Okay. Obviously, there's been a lot done. Next up is 2017. Mike Flanagan's.
Hell yes, dude. That one surprised me. That was a great movie.
Yeah.
I keep telling you need to watch it and read that book.
I know. I'm so far behind on... Again, I was just saying earlier, I'm so far behind on watching all kinds of things.
Yeah.
I just need to go through and just spend some time going through and watching some stuff on streaming and stuff. But yeah, so number 9 is Gerald's Game 2017. So yeah, that was... And I know that you've spoken highly of it, and people...
Great book, great movie.
People in our extended quartet have also talked very kindly about this adaptation. So we definitely have that on number 9. You surprised that made it?
I'm a little surprised. Didn't think they would.
More because it's newer, maybe.
Newer, and don't know if they. I mean, we've seen a lot of stuff snub Netflix originals, so
yeah, that's true.
That's honestly why I'm kind of surprised, is that it's a Netflix original. If you just look at content alone, yeah, it's a great movie, and I don't care if it's new.
Yeah,
number top 3 better be like Shawshank, Green Mile, and It, or something like that.
Okay, so that takes us to number 8, which is 2017's.
Oh, get the hell out of here.
Andy Muschietti It.
No. There's not 6 better Stephen King movies than this.
Surprise then.
7. Yeah, there's
surprise.
That's absolutely
at least
surprise.
For its place on the list, you're surprised. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, and I think that we'd all
great movie. Obviously,
we'd all
deserves
agree
to be on the
deserves
list.
to be on the list. Yeah, definitely a good one there. And I love it. You'll float too. Definitely, and using Georgie as I love that they did that for the marketing. Using him kind of front and center of it all. So next up is 1983, David Cronenberg's The Dead Zone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So have you seen this one?
I have once.
Okay.
Very long time ago.
Yeah.
Many wheels ago for me.
Okay, and I love some of these things I was able to find too when it comes to the posters of them. I thought that was kind of fun to see some of these and just the difference in designs and stuff from one generation to the next. But
damn, I forgot Walken was in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, Christopher Walken. Indeed. So next up...
That's not better than It. Get the hell out of here.
Next up is 1990, Rob Reiner's...
Yep.
Misery.
That belongs on there.
Yeah, with, of course, the terrifying Kathy Bates. Don't trust her, is all I'm saying.
Oscar winner. Best Actress, Kathy Bates.
Yeah, don't trust her. I don't care. And Rob Reiner is one that we will see on this list, I believe at least one more time. Just like number 10's Frank Darabont is one that is obviously famous for Stephen King work.
Yeah.
But yeah, so Rob Reiner's Misery, definitely terrifying, definitely great, and definitely, and not just like terrifying or whatever, but I also think it's one that definitely deserves to be talked about in the realm of good, good Stephen King adaptations. Next up is 1976 Carrie by Brian De Palma.
Yeah.
Definitely kind of where, in a lot of ways, I guess the Stephen King universe took off for movies, right? I don't know that we had really had one before that.
No.
So, yeah.
Well, geez, he had what, 4 books back then?
Well, doesn't this movie come out? Yeah, it came out within the first couple of years of
Wait,
King's.
what year did this come out?
76.
I thought the book was released in 78.
No. I actually still have my checklist pulled up, as a matter of fact.
When was Carrie published?
74.
Oh, yeah, so 2 years after it was published. Is there anything in between Carrie and the movie?
Yeah, he had written Salem's Lot, but he was 77. He dropped The Shining and Rage. So this would have been kind of tucked in between there in a year that we didn't really get any Stephen King books. So yeah, it was fairly early on. It was, but yeah, it's definitely a good one there. Travis is making some calls in the, he also gave us his list as well. But he's also, oh no, okay, never mind. He wasn't making a call then. He was putting his number 1 on there. So I thought it was a guess for what it would be. So number where are we at now? Number 4. Number 4 is the classic 1980 Stanley Kubrick movie, The Shining.
All right.
I mean, yeah, well regarded as one of the greatest horror movies of all time by a lot of people.
I mean, don't get me wrong. There's the discussions as a Stephen King fan of the difference between the movie and the book, but I can appreciate the movie for what it was. As a damn good horror movie.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely a good one. Definitely unsettling. Definitely freaky and everything else you might imagine.
Here's Johnny.
Okay, so then next up would be number 3, and number 3 is again Rob Reiner making another appearance.
Oh damn! I forgot about Stand By Me.
1986, Stand By Me. Definitely not a surprise to see. Honestly, I'm not surprised by any of these showing up. To be honest, like overall. And even ordering, I guess I can kind of see them. You're obviously kind of upset that it was as low as it was, but
I don't know if that can. I can't abide by that. Travis, one thing you got to do is you got to revise your list and take out TV miniseries. This is movie list.
Yeah, if you wanted to be,
because he put The Stand and It miniseries on his list.
Oh,
you got to take those off. Movies only.
Yeah, if you're going to be a stickler, which I guess Peter is going to be. # Peter is terrible.
How does that make me terrible? It's her list. She said movies, man. Come on.
I probably would have slipped The Stand on there, too, if it was me doing a list as well.
It's not a movie. We've had this discussion before.
Okay, so next up is number 2 is 1999, The Green Mile, again by Frank Darabont.
Whoa, 99?
Yep.
Really?
Uh-huh.
Damn.
Yeah. That actually kind of threw me off too. I don't know why. What did you picture it? Newer?
I thought it was 94.
Oh.
I thought it was, 94, 95. I thought Tom Hanks had like 6 straight years of really good movies. I didn't realize that it went all the way to 99.
Yeah, he did. I mean, because when it was wasn't Castaway in the late 90s too? So I feel like he was definitely kind of in that realm of early 80s through like the late, like apparently the late 90s with like big hits. And then like in the early 2000s, but he's got some stuff in the 2000s too, but definitely not in the same realm of things like some of these others. But yeah, and then
Castaway was 2000.
Oh, so it was the year after this. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, they probably filmed it probably right around the time that this came out, because remember they took like a 6-month or 8-month break for him to lose weight and stuff.
Oh yeah, because the stuff on the
island. Yeah. So there's that, and then of course number 1. Any question?
No, Shawshank Redemption. Like, get the fuck out of here.
Yep, 1994's Frank Darabont again, Shawshank Redemption. So Frank shows up there 3 times for all 3 of his Stephen King adaptations.
Missed Shawshank. What was the other
Green
one?
Mile.
Green Mile.
Yeah, because I actually saw there was one point when he was joking about the fact that after it was before The Mist came out, and maybe it was even for when they were doing publicity for The Mist, and he said that I'm the best director in the smallest genre, which is Stephen King prison movies. Yeah. Oh man. So yeah, that's the list that they came up with over here at this website. So what do you think overall? Like it, and where would you put it? What would you?
I think it would be number 3 for me.
Yeah.
right behind Green Mile and Shawshank.
Okay.
Maybe number 2.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think it might be better than Green Mile. Green Mile is a great movie, but I think I know. You know what? I think I would withhold, because can you put it as just one movie? Because it's not done. That's the big thing.
No, it's not done, but I feel like they did a really good job of mixing in they pretty much they didn't cross cut like the book does. So I feel like it is a standalone movie. Because it does have its closure and stuff, so I believe it can stand on its own. I feel like once the other one comes out, it could turn into one of those things where it really helps maybe people enjoy it more. I didn't actually take it down for this episode, but the casting for it is now finalized.
Yeah, there's a bunch of
finished.
All it's like completely done.
Yeah, they got all the losers cast. I mean, I don't think they've got into like Henry Bowers and stuff like that, but they have got the losers all in line for who they have for the adult versions. Okay, so that is that, and yeah, Travis says Frank Darabont should be the showrunner for Dark Tower series for Amazon, and I actually do believe that he was pushing to do the Dark Tower series. This was years ago, though. I want to say it was maybe prior to The Walking Dead, but I remember Stephen King just saying, "No, you should go try to do something." It was probably around the same time that the 2007 when he sold it to J.J. Abrams, so it would have been before The Mist. So yeah, I want to say that he did, and I think Stephen King just kind of, I don't know, didn't brush him aside necessarily, but told him he should work on other things or whatever.
Live your life, man.
Yeah, so it's like, damn it, Stephen King, if it wasn't for you, we might have a Frank Darabont Dark Tower thing, and it could have been 10 years ago for all we know. Okay, so next up is going to be I do have it here, Roland Hat Watch.
The Hat Watch.
Peter texted me and told me that there was indeed an update on his end for the Roland's Hat Watch, which we started a few episodes back.
Yeah.
Just kind of turning into one of those things where I think a lot of us seen a lot of the pictures and the books and stuff portray him with the hat, including one of the cover pictures of book 7 shows him with the hat for the original. But a lot of those reprints, because remember they had darkened it up to where you couldn't really see whether he was white or black. Right around the time the movie came out, they'd had that whatever. So some of those show him with a hat too. So yeah, in some cases you may have him on all of your book covers with a hat on. And that turned into this whole conversation of the fact that he didn't have a hat, which most of us, I think, agree with. I, of course, was picturing Man with No Name, so I pictured him with a hat, even though they told us that he lost it.
Yeah, and I always pictured him without a hat because it never goes into it. And then, like, one of the first pictures I remember seeing for the Dark Tower is the illustrations in Gunslinger and Drawing of the Three, and none of those depict him with a hat. So
yeah,
the big thing is that I agreed to watch from here on out, because I was in the middle of Drawing of the Three when I agreed to this, is that I would watch and see if there's ever a mention, or maybe it was right at the beginning of Wastelands, I'd see if there was a mention of Roland's hat. And indeed, I've come across 1.5 mentions.
Okay.
So not 2 full mentions, but 1 for sure.
How you get a half mention, I don't know. But
I will explain. So the first one is in Wastelands for sure. It's as they are crossing into Lud over the bridge, when Oi slips and Jake reaches for him and Oi bites his hand and everything like that. When Roland springs forward and the wind gusts, there's a line that says that the Roland's hat was blown back into Susanna's face.
Somebody brought that up.
I think they did.
Yeah, somebody brought. I apologize, I forget who. I can't remember if it was in our social media or if it was even in our live chat, but I do believe someone brought up the fact that they remember him having it on the bridge in Wastelands.
Yeah, because Susanna's on his back in that harness that she hates so much.
Yeah.
And his hat was blown back into her face, so she couldn't see what was going on.
So, I mean, and I want to say that the person that mentioned it was in the middle of to where they had just read it too. So, yeah. So, just reconfirming the fact that he doesn't indeed have one there at the bridge.
Yep.
And so there's nothing you've seen, though, that would have seen him picking one up at some point?
No.
Okay, so it's maybe one of these, like, shifts in and out of existence.
Or it's there and Steven just doesn't focus on the fucking hat.
I want to say, in the first book, I thought there was a line early on that talked about his long lost, or his hat that was, like, lost long ago or something like that.
That might be in the edited version, remember, and I didn't read that. You know, I have my copy that's the second edition or whatever. Yeah. So I don't know if necessarily that may be the disconnect there or something like that. Because I know that you've mentioned that before.
Yeah, I thought for sure there was something, but either way.
So the half mention When they get to the Cradle of Blood, Susanna and Eddie specifically, because Roland's chasing down Gasher and Jake with Oi.
Yeah.
They see the statue of Roland, and it's not necessarily Roland, but it's enough to make them both think it's Roland at first.
Okay.
That statue has a hat.
Okay. And they don't look at it as though like it's a weird thing that he has a hat or anything.
No, they just describe it. He just describes it. You know, he has a gun in one hand, and I think a olive branch in the other hand.
Yeah.
And there's a horse or something like that, and then it describes like his hat is pushed back on his brow, basically.
Okay.
And it doesn't give any kind of reaction that they
to where if he
that.
didn't have a hat, most likely they would have been like, oh, it's just like Roland except he has a hat on type thing. You know?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So hat watch. Hat's been confirmed at least once.
Okay.
Wastelands, it definitely says there's a specific line where Roland does something, and there's a gust of wind, and the hat blows back into Susanna's face.
Okay.
So
interesting. Yeah. Like I said, I believe we had that one before, but yeah, the statue one is definitely a new.
Like I
appearance.
said, 1.5. I mean, it's not necessarily Roland. And if you want to get very technical, in Wizard and Glass, the ice sculpture statue of Roland has a hat as well.
Okay.
On Blaine.
Yeah.
So
he's a good man, that Blaine.
Yep. No.
Hey, Blaine's great, sir. He brought us the best, one of the best aspects of the entire story.
The best moment for Eddie Dean, hands down.
And it's probably one of the best of the whole series, man. It's
such a good moment.
It's a great one, man.
Dude, you want to hear one of the hardest things I've ever had to do?
Stop.
I had to stop today during that part and go back to work from my lunch. And I was like, It was literally the moment where, because you have like the Stephen King shift back, you know?
Yeah.
Where he does that. It's where it's from the everyone's perspective, Roland, Jake, Susanna's, Oi's, and Blaine's. And then it shifts back to Eddie's frame of mind as he gets there finally and realizes that Blaine doesn't like jokes.
Yeah.
I seriously had to stop listening as Eddie raises his hand. I got a couple for you, Blaine. And just like, you sons of bitches, I need like 15 more minutes. Let me have a 15-minute longer lunch. I'll stay late. Something.
Oh, man, that's wonderful.
Why is that wonderful that I suffered?
Why not?
You're a terrible person. You know that? This is what I'm talking about. Is like no one realizes that he actually is genuinely happy that I suffered today. Like he is. I just made his day that he knows that I suffered.
It does put a big smile on my face.
You're a terrible person. You're a monster.
Oh, man. I love it when you call me a monster. It always makes me laugh. Okay, so next up, we are going to jump on over.
It's the emails. Tad's gonna read us what people wrote to us.
No, that's not getting deleted, right?
God damn it.
Every time, man. It's great. Oh, man. So, yeah, getting into some emails. We got some good time to kind of go through and hit some of these. I'm not sure if we'll get through everything, but we'll see what we can get through. So the first one is Dark Tower Junkie, and it's AKA. We do have an AKA now, and it is Tim.
Yeah.
And he did email once before, and I remember I had to kind of keep it ambiguous because I didn't know who we were talking to or who was talking to us. So yeah, that is a little bit in case people have not kept up with in terms of like, oh, that was a while ago that we read his first email, because he does reference the first email. So. Okay. He starts off, Heil again, Tad and Peter.
Heil.
He says, Dark Tower Junkie again. I just listened to round table number 52, so about 5 round tables ago.
That's not too bad.
Add the book clubs in, though, and that was a while ago.
Crap.
The numbers can be deceiving. He says, another great episode. I was surprised that you read my email below. It was great timing, though, with the recent articles that just landed about Amazon and the Dark Tower TV series. So, as we can see, that's probably when that's when that first Deadline article.
Yeah. And now we're talking about the second Deadline article, reading his second email. Interesting. Yeah. Interesting. Cause a will.
Yeah. Write more, Tim, then we'll get more Deadline articles.
Yeah, damn it. What the hell?
I don't know. That would be a little bit superstitious, wouldn't it?
Maybe.
Or a little stitious.
Just a little stitious. Not superstitious.
Okay, so then he goes on and says, well, I guess I had that coming. I did have to cringe every time that you referred to me as he/she, which is what I was doing. Because, hey, you never know. With a name like Dark Tower Junkie, that could be anyone. We have Dark Tower Junkies of both sexes on our show.
Indeed.
So and he says, lesson learned. I'm a dude. My name is Tim. Since we are part of the extended quartet, I should have given you my name. I wasn't really trying to be anonymous. I was just using my Twitter handle as I follow you guys there, and was not really expecting my email to be read on one of your episodes. It was cool that you did read it though, and you guys talked about my email for almost an hour. Even cooler.
Oh, that one.
Yeah, that was. Yeah, it was a good conversation. No, yeah, definitely recognize you from your Twitter handle. I think that's the other thing too. Is because I think I even maybe have mentioned it could have been an anonymous thing, because some people do like to be a little bit more anonymous, and I would definitely respect that. If anyone wanted to be anonymous, you could always say so, and maybe tell me in the email what you want to be displayed or whatever. But
what do you want your code name to be?
In Tim's case, he didn't care, but it was no way for me to know until now. So
I'm still calling him Dark Tower Junkie. I'm not calling him Tim. Dark Tower Junkie's way cooler than Tim.
You know what I think about with Tim?
What
is Monty Python and the Holy Grail? Is it? Is it? It's not Tim the Shrubber, is it?
No,
because it's like I didn't know you were called Tim.
Isn't that the?
I'm blanking. Is
that the servant one?
Dude, I haven't.
Help! I'm being repressed.
No,
it's not.
I don't think so. I gotta watch that again. I don't, dude.
There's not a chance in hell you watch Monty Python and the Holy Grail in the next month. I guarantee there's not a chance in hell you watch that. With everything that you're behind on, there's no way.
I might take that bet, though, sir. No, because it actually came up at work a few different times recently with Monty Python references.
Oh, really?
And it's just been getting to one of those things where I'm just like...
let me guess some of the references, because I know those guys. Me?
No.
Really?
No. I can't even remember what it was, honestly.
Oh,
but it wasn't that one, though. Okay. Then he goes on here and says, I also had to laugh at you mentioning my pronunciation attempt of Magus. I've actually been cheating on you guys with another podcast, and they were having trouble with that pronunciation. And hey, I will say, we've said it before, we have no ill will to anyone doing Dark Tower podcasts. And heck, if it was me, I'd probably be listening to everything too. I mean, there's a lot of things I'm a nerd about, and I listen to multiple podcasts of a lot of them. And I honestly, as little as I get a chance to listen to podcasts anymore, though, like I'm to the point where I'm like collapsed in with all the podcasts surrounding me. Like I was thinking about it recently. I'm like, man, if a few like podcasts that are like really like high on my list were to drop right now, I don't know what I would do. I'm so far. I think I'm like 20 something episodes behind on one of my podcasts that I listen to, and I'm just like, because and I've listened to some of the other Dark Tower shows. They're great, but yeah, I'm it's getting to the point where I'm like definitely audiobook focused right now in general with like.
Yeah, my podcast love dropped off hard. Like
I get it. I go in moods with it. In general, there's times I'm just like I'd rather be listening to podcasts versus like an audiobook. Other times I'm more audiobook centric, and right now I'm more in the audiobook feel.
You ruined me for podcasts.
Why?
Audible.
Oh yeah,
ruined me for podcasts. If I have my hour of driving, half hour to work, half hour home, I'd rather listen to an hour of Dark Tower or The Outsider or, something else by Stephen King than a podcast where I'm only going to get, partway through it, and then I don't have time at home to finish podcast anymore.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
and see me, I think a lot of it comes down to like a lot of my heavy podcast listening was always Star Wars, and I just feel like Star Wars fandom anymore is just not good.
And it's not like I
don't enjoy it anymore.
Yeah, it's not like the job where we work together, where I could have, back in the podcast days, that's what I'm going to call them, is where we could, listen to 3 hours at work. Some on slow nights. On less than slow ones, on busy ones, we got 3 hours. On some of the other ones, dude, I'd put away 6 hours of podcast or a book,
Yeah, per day. Yeah,
I remember looking at it one time. I remember talking to you. It was The Stand that I was listening to the first time on audiobook, and I'm like, I got 4 hours left. Do you think I can finish it before the shift is over? And you're like, I don't know. There's a lot in that 4 hours, so. And it's only an 8-hour shift, so it's like, oh, maybe.
Yeah, it's always a tough one for. I wish I could still do that because that's mostly part of it though. Is just I have a lot less time to listen. I mean, there's even points where I'm just like I want to listen to something and I just like have no audiobook that I have currently, and then like there's no podcasts that are really tickling my fancy, and also I think I get discouraged by how far behind I am that I'm just like and then it just ends up where I end up listening to nothing or music.
Yeah, and the other problem I have is that I found out the podcasts that I really was a fan of are video podcasts that they record.
Yeah.
And I don't know why, but in the last year or so, the last year or so that I was listening, they stopped being so catered towards the audio and just doing like an audio podcast with video.
A lot more visual.
A lot more visuals where it's like, hey, you, come here. Look at this guy's shirt. And I'm like, fuckers, I can't see the shirt. I'm on the audio.
Yeah.
So then I have to go home and pull up the video anyways and see what the hell they were talking about.
Yeah. Then Tim goes on and says, what can I say? I have needs. I needed a fix and went elsewhere to get it. It's not like I wasn't up front with you from the beginning. I did refer to my handle as Dark Tower Junkie. Yeah.
We forgive you.
That's definitely true.
We really don't mind at all.
No, not at all. And I think we've said that before. But
yeah, we have.
If not, yeah, whatever. Then he goes on and says, guys, I actually have something for you. I've attached a document that I found online sometime after the release of the 7th book, The Dark Tower. The document was presented or passed off as being an explanation of the alternate endings from Psy King himself. Who knows? You can believe everything, or you can't believe everything you read on the internet, right?
What? You can't?
No, and Bigfoot's not in Oregon.
Don't you lie to me, Tad.
Then he goes on and says, it might be a good topic for discussion around the ending of the series as a whole, and the whole loops aspect. Maybe it was just another fan's musings and attempting to reconcile them with the loop ending. I understood it to meaning that Roland had already made one trip to the tower prior to that loop and was experienced and that we experienced in the book series, and that with Gan giving him the Horn of Eld. And if he is true, then his next loop could be his last. I interpreted this as meaning that Roland is now on his third and potentially last trip around the Wheel of Ka. Either way, enjoy pondering. And I definitely will keep that for a future discussion. I feel like that's a little bit bigger than just doing an email segment here.
Okay.
But we'll hang on to that and look at it in a future date because
I haven't seen it.
We haven't touched the
Nope.
the ending for
we had a
couple
years.
Years.
Had an ending podcast
Toward the
dedicated.
I think it was toward the beginning.
Didn't it end up splitting into two? No, that was the casting.
Yeah,
that was our original dream casting.
I'd say that's probably within the first 10 shows, though, would be
yeah.
my guess without looking. So, yeah, it's been a while, so maybe it'd be good to dust that off and talk about it again, see if our interpretations have changed, and even for new people that maybe didn't go backlog, it'd be new discussion for them.
Gotcha.
But yeah, that's then he signs off here and says, as for the TV series goes, there will be Water of Gan wills it, and then signs off Long Days and Pleasant Nights, Tim / the Dark Tower Junkie. So thank you, Tim, for your email.
Tim.
And yeah, thanks for that document. We'll definitely take a look at that and probably even make it kind of a centerpiece of a round table to talk about the ending and kind of look, maybe through the paradigm of that, we can look at the ending again.
Especially after another time around the wheel for me.
Yeah.
And you as well.
Yeah.
And after a movie.
Yeah, because that's probably what I got to do is I probably need to just start the Dark Tower concurrent with everything and just kind of have it on the side.
It's your go-to when you don't have a new book.
When I don't have things to do, because
you've done that before.
It really bothers me when I'm just sitting there going like, oh man, I'm just so far behind on podcasts. So then it like discourages me from listening to podcasts, and then like I have no book to read, and I'm just like sitting there going, I have all these credits and nothing to buy, and nothing just sounds good. It'd be good to just throw back on the Dark Tower series.
Hey, that's what I did. I finished. I can't remember what I finished, and then I was like, what should I read now?
Yeah.
And then it was just like, The Dark Tower's at the bottom of my Audible because it's been the longest since I've read those. That just won't do.
Sounds about right.
So I threw those back on, and then The Outsider came out, got that, and listened to that, and I'm right back into Dark Tower.
Yeah, I'm excited for a discussion on that.
Indeed.
Yeah, it'll be great.
We've already had some text conversations. I mean,
yeah, a little bit. Yeah,
so
not too much though. Okay, so next up is Cody from Kansas.
Cody,
and he has a short one here, and he says, "I'm on an international flight, listening to the podcast book club drawing of the 3 part 6. Just snap a picture over Cuba and preparing for the ritual of clearing of the customs. Wish me luck, LOL." And here's the picture of Quite a nice, beautiful blue area there.
I'm falling from the sky. I'm rolling.
And he says, P.S. I haven't met anyone named Eddie yet. Still looking.
Ah.
He did send that some time ago, but I think he actually mentioned that not too long. Maybe it was even on our book club episode because he asked if we had got. He asked me if I'd got his email for book club, and I guess I didn't really draw. Like, I guess he mentioned he was listening to the book clubs, but I guess I didn't take that to meaning that he wanted it read in
Cody
the book
in the
clubs.
chat.
Yeah.
Hey, that's me.
So yeah, that's awesome. I love it.
Cody, you have to respond to me into the chat. I seriously have to know, did you seriously just say that out loud and then type it, or just type it? Because I'm one of those people where I'll say something and then go and type it. I seriously did that the other day when I texted you. I thought of something and I was like, damn, I should tell Tad this. I was talking to my wife and she's like, okay. And I'm like, I'm going to do that now. And then I texted you.
Oh, man.
Oh, it was the hat watch. That's what it was. He said it in my head.
Oh, the hat. Oh, yeah. You had a hat watch update. Okay.
Yeah, that's what it was for me, is that I had a hat watch update, and I was like, oh, yeah, I need to tell Ted that I had a hat watch update. And she's like, what the hell are you talking about? I was like, Dark Tower Palaver. She's like, okay, fine. She's just like, whatever, you weirdos.
Yeah. And this one here, next up, is Tom. And Tom has really just a short one, just a single sentence here. Well, maybe 2 sentences. And he says, just heard latest episode. You mentioned t-shirts. Very keen. Maybe a Facebook post/poll. And I think that might be a good thing to do.
It's a very good idea.
Yeah, because I definitely want to get any input that people might have in terms of what you might want to see on t-shirts. Even if that's some emails and stuff, if everyone can shoot in some emails or hit us up on social media and let us know. Because I don't want to just like start picking things randomly that you guys have no interest in. I want to like find some stuff that you guys would be interested in getting and wearing. And
I should
stuff
go
like
create
that,
a Facebook poll and see how many people would buy a #TadIsTerrible t-shirt.
I mean, I guess t-shirts don't have to be the truth or anything. So
Of course they are. The t-shirt is the truth.
that t-shirt wouldn't be.
Yeah, it would. You are a terrible person.
Okay, so that's a quick one. That was and
Short and sweet.
Yeah, some people have longer ones, some people have shorter ones. We love it all because I don't know, short ones like that. It's just a great reminder. And it's something that I have been wanting to bring back up. So yeah, definitely thank you, Tom, for sending that because it gets that conversation back up, and we'll definitely post something here, maybe even tonight before we go to bed or whatever, to just get some stuff out there to get some input from everyone. But also, we'd love to see you guys hit us up with emails too. Just let us know like what designs, what it might be, whether you just want straight Dark Tower stuff, or whether you want stuff, that's somewhat show related, or both, or mixtures. Who knows? There's all kinds of crazy things that might happen. Who knows? So next up is John from Buffalo, and he is actually responding to our top 5 Stephen King books. Remember that conversation a while back?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
non-Dark Tower, right?
Yeah, non-Dark Tower. Yep. That's let's see. So he starts off here. Let's go in reverse order. Number 5, Different Seasons. Have you read that one? Apt Pupil, Rita Hayworth in the Shawshank Redemption, The Body, and there's one other short story in there.
I want to say yes, but I'm going to say no just for posterity because I don't think that I have.
Okay. Because, yeah, that one was one that Hollywood-wise, it's definitely 3 out of the 4 are big movies. Well, movies, not big, but movies for sure. You can call Apt People big or not, but it is definitely our appearance by Ian McKellen in the Stephen King universe.
Yeah.
And he's one of those ones that we talked about a few episodes ago. People that you associate with or not associate with. I don't associate him being in the Stephen King film universe. I mean, he's there, but yeah, it's not one of those ones where I think, oh yeah, he's been in Stephen King. Like, I'll forget 9 times out of 10.
Same with Anthony Hopkins, though.
Yeah. There's just some that, and even like Tom Hanks, we just had his picture up a little bit ago for the Green Mile, but it's just one of those ones I never think about. Tom Hanks versus like guys like Ed Harris or Kathy Bates or some of these others where it's just like, oh yeah, that's
Morgan Freeman.
Yeah.
Even as big as Morgan Freeman is, he'll always be red to me.
Yeah. I think that's for me too. He's one of my favorite. That's one of my favorite roles of his for sure.
Yeah.
So John then goes on with number 4 is It, which is obviously one of Peter's favorites.
I love that book so much. I'm having a really hard time right now because I'm starting to plan out like what I'm going to do after Dark Tower.
Yeah.
Or if I want to take a break from Dark Tower after Wizard and Glass, maybe, like I usually do, and see if I want to read something else. But one of the problems I'm having is what do I read? Because looking at the bottom of my Audible, which means the ones I haven't listened to the longest,
Yeah.
Dark Tower, Doctor Sleep, The Stand, and It.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like, fuck. God, if you twist my arm having to listen to one of those, like, jeez.
Yeah. The number 3, this one's been coming up a lot recently, The Long Walk.
Another one. When do I get my next credit? 2 days.
Yeah.
On the 18th, I get my Audible credit.
Yeah, I think I have one spare, and I'm getting down to the end of mine. I keep spending like crazy to get rid of like having 6 credits all the time. But
I'm a little bummed out that it's the 18th and not the 19th.
Yeah, there was a point when I was like, because I couldn't find anything, and I was like getting to the point where I was almost done with my credits, and I was like, it was like one of those where I just like, I was considering like, man, maybe I should just like stop Audible for a while. Like, just haven't been using it much recently. And like, I looked at it, I'm like, oh, customer since 2013. And I'm like, this is a pretty good streak. And I'm like, I don't know if I cancel if I lose like all my stats and
You
stuff
don't.
or any of that stuff.
You do not.
No. Well, it's that contemplation is long past me now.
Yeah.
That was just like because then like The Outsider came out and so
That was a moment of weakness.
yeah, and I think there's something else I've been listening to recently. I can't even think of what it is right now, but I'm listening to something currently, not Stephen King related. It's a history of Marvel.
I was going to say, is it another one of your true crime ones?
No,
that you always listen to?
it's a history of Marvel comics.
Ooh.
Kind of fun, yeah. Just to see some of the behind the scenes. It's like weird ones like that every once in a while I'll just throw in there. Like, all right, cool. Let's go see what Stan and Jack are doing here.
Yeah.
Number 2, Hearts in Atlantis. That's yeah, that's a great one. I mean, but it's one that I wouldn't necessarily expect to see on top lists too much, which I love. I love hearing people rank ones high that I necessarily wouldn't consider necessarily.
Firestarter.
Yeah,
And Carrie for me.
yeah. And the number 1, this is a surprise, just because what do you think of some of the perennial number 1s?
It, The Stand,
Non-Dark Tower, of course.
yeah. No, I just instantly went to Dark Tower and started listing all 7 books of the Dark Tower in my head. It, The Stand, The Shining, Salem's Lot.
Okay, it's just a lot of the classic,
The classic Age of King.
but I think his fits. It would fit on my. It would be on my list. I don't think we've even done our list yet. We need to get on top of that.
Yeah, we did.
Did we?
Yeah.
I don't remember us doing it for some reason.
Oh, we did it. That's why this sparked this conversation.
No, we threw it. I think we threw it out there, and then we were gonna.
No, we did
list
ours.
ours too.
We totally did ours.
I have a terrible memory, so I don't know.
We did ours.
Okay, listeners, if we haven't, call or send an email in and say that #Peter is terrible and he's lying and we didn't do it. His number 1, 11/22/63.
Oh, nice.
Definitely one that'd be on the in my top 5 for sure. But yeah, good, cool to see that his number 1. I definitely think that's one of the great King books, and it's definitely. I think that's the book where I really just came to the realization we're in a second golden age of Stephen King, man. Like there's just so many great books coming out, and I think The Outsider fits right inside of that as well. So that is it. That's all we got from John. So thank you, John from Buffalo, for sending that in. Definitely, we're a little bit behind on getting to the list, but we definitely threw that out there some time ago, and it's cool to definitely still hear that. We may even just add that to the list of things that people might send in for their first emails. Be kind of interesting to see for people that have read other King. There are some people that jump right into Dark Tower and haven't got around to anything else yet. Next up is Daryl from Minneapolis.
We've had him before.
Yeah, he's been on a number of times now. Yeah, he's definitely a regular emailer, even though with our slowness, I feel like we might even hit him a few times in this episode, depending on how we're looking for time. But yeah, he's got a couple in the hopper here. So
nice.
Daryl starts off, Heil Gunslingers.
Heil.
And he says, it's been a while since I've written, but I know you've been backed up on emails, so I've held off writing. Just finished listening to the latest episode, Roundtable number 54, where you asked us to write in our top 4 King books and our reaction to that article about potential TV series. Oh, so he says top 4. So maybe John gave us an extra one then.
Oh.
I don't know why we would have done 4. Is such a weird number to do.
4 is a weird number. Make it 5. If you write it, make it 5.
Yeah, anyone in the future can do 5. I don't know why we would have done. Or maybe somebody did a top 4. Maybe that's what it was in an article or something. Maybe someone mentioned like their top 4. I think that's the only way we would have done 4 is if we grabbed it from something else.
Yeah.
Again, having a terrible memory sucks. And then he goes on and says, first off, the article reaction. And this is when we read that article talking about leaving Dark Tower alone for good or whatever, and
Yeah.
fans don't want to see it anymore. And he said, come on, that guy's off his rocker. I don't care if it's released tomorrow, next month, or next year, or in 10 years down the road. I'll tune into any Dark Tower movie / TV series at any time that it is made. Also, not all of us thought the movie was bad. So that's, Thank you for that. Yeah, it's definitely one that we would agree with. And I think I just mostly threw that out to the listeners because I just want to see, like, because this guy was speaking for the Dark Tower fans.
Yeah, he tried to make it sound like every single Dark Tower fan everywhere hated the movie and is done with the adaptations of it. And it's just,
and it's like, well, let's ask our listeners, because I feel like we have a really good broad perspective of the Dark Tower.
We're one of the few podcasts I've ever listened to that allows multiple opinions. Like we've talked about several times, that okay, you didn't like the movie, tell us why. That's all it is. It's like, we don't mind hearing it. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to, not necessarily agree with it, but we're not going to put you down for it.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the big thing. That's one thing that me and Ted talked about with it. Is that we didn't want to be another one of those communities. I mean, like we talked about the Dark Tower subreddit, where it's just basically just a place where someone like me, I can't go to there, because if I try and post anything positive about the movie, I'm just going to get slammed, and I don't want that for this show, and I know Ted doesn't either. Yeah,
indeed. Then he goes, he goes on here, and he goes, top book list. These are my top 4 favorite books of Kings outside of Dark Tower. I listed them in order of how I like them.
That's why number 5 is the Dark Tower series. No, just kidding.
I don't know. My memory, man, it'll get me. But for his, since he has some stuff written out as to why,
okay.
We'll just go with his in order from 1 down. So number 1 for him is Hearts in Atlantis.
Oh.
And he says, love. This is 3 separate stories tied into one big story. This book always brings me back to my childhood. And the circle of friends I had, as well as bringing me back to college and the crap we used to do to kill time. I just related to this book so much, and I think that is why it's one of my favorite books. Kings, since the first time I read it, or one of my favorite books of Kings since the first time I read it. I'd also be lying if I didn't say I love this book, because it's our introduction to Ted Brodigan and the Low Men.
Yeah.
So yeah, that definitely, just because we eliminated the Dark Tower doesn't mean that Dark Tower connections can't be why you like the books you like.
Exactly.
Because that is the case. I mean, I don't know. Like, honestly, which for me it's a reverse though. Like I believe I got into, because like I knew about Dark Tower for a long time before I ever got into it. Mm-hmm. It was one of those where I was just like, that's a big one. I'm gonna go around and do some other ones first, And I hit the stand before, and there was part of me that when I heard that there was connections to the stand, it was one of the cinchers for me finally diving into the Dark Tower, because I don't know, it was just weird. It was just like, I don't know if it'd be like a mountain climber that was just like, yeah, no, I'm not gonna do Everest. Like, that was just me. I was like, yeah, I might get to there eventually, but let me hit some of these smaller peaks before I worry about that giant one.
Yeah, you gotta build up your endurance to get up the mountain.
Yeah.
So that's what you did with me too. When you introduced me to Stephen King, you started me off with 3 books, and I read a couple on my own.
Yeah,
before,
because I wanted you acclimated to even King's writing style and stuff.
Because I'd never read anything by him, so you had me read.
Yeah.
I remember the very first book I ever read by Stephen King was Salem's Lot. You gave me that.
I feel like even like the brutality, the realism, the grit, like there's a lot of stuff about Stephen King.
Vampires was the big thing for me, because I mean, looking at where I was in life in the early 2000s, because I was really early 2000s. That was 2000, 2001. You got me into Stephen King early, and then Dark Tower came a couple years later.
Yeah,
but even then, vampires were not necessarily the joke they were after Twilight, but they were going that way fast.
Yeah.
I mean, the last cool thing I saw with vampires in it before reading Salem's Lot was Blade.
Yeah.
Which, it's not bad for what it is. Let's be honest. The first one, at least, is not bad for what it is. And I have a strong, and I don't know if I've talked about this on the podcast before, I have a strong love for things where they take something from a legend and explain it with a more real world explanation.
Yeah.
The one that always comes to mind is like the it's a crappy example because I can't think of another one off the top of my head every time I describe this. Is in Twilight, the vampires don't go outside because they sparkle. They're like diamonds. It's so stupid. So stupid. But I love the idea of that's the reason they don't go outside. You know, like a real world, you know, not necessarily they'll burst into flames, but like an explanation of it, you know, kind of thing. And I wish there was a word for that, because I love when stories do that.
It's kind of a retcon would be
Kind of thing,
yeah.
I love that. I love when stories do that. And Salem's Lot was so original for me that it really hit me hard, and that was nice to start off on that foot.
But see, you were a bright-eyed, bushy-tailed little kid. I just didn't want to throw you right into like.
Good Lord,
you know,
can you imagine if you throwed me headlong into the tower? What would have happened to me?
with like the Oracle and like later on
God.
like things like demon rape and.
That's true. Also, yeah, that's one thing to consider is that Peter was a good little a Mormon kid over here growing up that Tad corrupted and brought me over to the dark side. So, shit.
Oh man, yeah, that was I didn't want to throw you into the Dark Tower headlong because I'm like, one, it's really big, and two, there's some stuff in here that might surprise Peter quite a bit and may turn him off from the whole thing.
Just a little bit.
So I'm like, let's start off with something a little lighter then.
Yeah, let's watch a kid get killed by a vampire. Great job, Tad.
Yeah, well, I don't know. It worked out, didn't it?
I'm here, aren't I?
Yeah, exactly.
That you were playing the long con for this all along, weren't you? Back in 2000, you knew that podcasts were going to be a huge thing, and you wanted
since it
to do
didn't
one.
exist yet.
Exactly.
Yeah. Although I turned you on to podcasting because I wanted to get you on a podcast. I will say that too.
Did you really? That's the first time you've ever admitted that.
No, I thought I've told you that before.
I don't think so.
I was like, oh, if Peter likes podcasting and like the general of it, then like I can get him to do one with me because we definitely have a repertoire from our long friendship now.
We have so many people over the years that have commented that they would just sit there and listen to us talk about nerd stuff. My wife is first and foremost.
Yeah.
She admits it all the time. Like, I can't remember what it was.
Like after every like geeky movie, we always end up going to like lunch or dinner somewhere and like just talking about the movie.
So it was me, you, and Caden and my wife went and saw something a while ago. I think it was Wonder Woman last year. And we saw it, and we went to Cafe Rio afterwards, and we were talking. And then on the drive home, I turned to my wife and I said, "Do you hate when we dissect movies? Like, I know some people, it really bothers them that they can't come out of a movie and just, oh, that was a good movie, and go, okay, let's go get something to eat and talk about something else." I seriously asked her, I was like, because you never seem to like weigh in on the conversation, so I'm always worried that you're annoyed with us for diving in. She's like, "Are you kidding me? I freaking love listening to you guys. You guys are such nerds." Which is why she tunes into our show sometimes.
Yeah.
And she's never read The Dark Tower or anything like that. She just likes hearing us go back and forth.
Yeah. And nerds we definitely are. That's for sure.
I'm looking around his room. I see action figures. I see Star Wars posters, Marvel posters.
Yeah, you definitely got a lot of nerd stuff. That's for sure. So number 2 for Daryl is It.
Good choice.
Yeah.
Very good choice.
Definitely one that would be a popular one on the list, I would
Easily.
think. And he says this has nothing to do with the recent bias toward with the movie.
Mm-hmm.
It was a book that hooked me on King all those years ago. I wrote a prior email to you about it that more explained what I liked about that book so much. Yeah, definitely. Remember that. Yeah, definitely cool to see that one up there, and not a surprise necessarily. Number 3, 11/22/63.
Good Lord.
Yeah, that one's. I think that's going to be on there. Would be on there for a lot of people.
It's a
man.
great book. It really is.
It is. I think I've been through it twice, and there's still times I wonder. I think I'm going to probably go through it again. Like I think about things. For the project, I will be doing it, but like it's one of those ones where I'm just like I'll think about a scene or whatever, and like I don't know, just want to go through the whole thing again.
I think I want to watch the miniseries again because I just read 11/22/63 earlier this year.
Yeah, I actually went back and watched the last episode recently.
Did you?
Like over the course of the last month, yeah.
Just the last episode?
Yeah. Mostly for like the dance and stuff. There was some stuff I wanted to just not necessarily go through the whole thing, but just
watch that
hit
part.
Some basics, yeah. And then he says, such a fun, thought-provoking concept. Yeah, and that's simple thing for it there, but totally true. And I think it's just a great love story, potentially one of the best ones that King's ever done. I'll throw it out there. You can think on it, but I think that's I think it's out. It's up there, man. I
think it's number 1.
If it's not number 1, yeah.
I think it's got to be number 1. I can't. That's what I was racking my brain. There's not many other love stories that turn out good at all.
That's the thing is with Stephen King, I don't think you could expect good endings.
No.
But again, I think that Stephen King's whole career is synopsized by The Dark Tower, in that I feel like a lot of his books, it's more about the journey than the end.
Yeah.
And I think that's why people shit on him, like, oh, well, he always has shitty endings and stuff. It's like, because like I feel like for him, he's writing more for the journey than the ending in general.
Yeah.
I mean, for The Dark Tower, we know that. And I feel like he telegraphed that to us through the course of this, even in the book. You know, we have these warnings. But it's like,
not only that, but in every single argument he talks about it.
yeah.
Like every single time he brings it up, that he's all about that journey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I feel like in general that's the case. So it's a matter of, did you enjoy the journey? You know, ending or not. Like, even if it ends horrifically, it's like book 4, you're about to go into it. It's like with Susan and Roland, like, it is the journey that they take. I mean, does Charlie more issues any more than it doesn't? Okay, so I think it's showing that on that end we're back. Let's see, resuming. Okay, should be back here any second now. Okay. Yeah, it's touchy, man.
There we go.
I don't know what's going on. Yeah, so that's we're still showing in like the yellow and stuff.
Good Lord.
Yeah, I don't know. Hopefully it holds out here. But yeah, no, it's definitely one. I think the more so than the ending and stuff, it's more the journey, and it's something I can appreciate. So number 4 for Daryl is Duma Key.
Oh, right. He's going in reverse order. I don't know why we were counting down and not counting up.
Yeah. Just because of his explanations.
I still haven't read that one.
No. Well, he gives us a little bit of a breakdown here as to like why he has it. So maybe it's one that may be a sales pitch for you. I know you've done it once before where that's why you read Black House and Talisman, is because of a lot of what we heard on the show from different people. So he says a man putting his life back together unleashes a gift he didn't know was inside of him. Did he always have this gift inside of him, or did it come from something somewhere else? I've often wondered how some creatives, musicians, authors, artists can do the things that they do. That's what I love about this book so much. King ponders that question. I found this book to be such an amazing, fun yet creepy read.
Ooh,
yeah, that's good. So that's his top 4, and he says just missed the cut. The Stand, Dolores Claiborne, and Bag of Bones.
I liked Bag of Bones.
Yeah, it's and if you're doing a list and you want to send us the ones that just missed, you could do that too. It's always interesting to me to see because you kind of get a sense of not just the top 4, but also what's further down that iceberg for people. What's
honorable mentions?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. I mean, I don't know if I necessarily want to get into like, oh, here's my top 4 and here's my 20 for
honorable mentions. Keep it restricted, guys. Come on.
No more than the original number. How about that? That's a good one.
Go.
Although we don't know if the original number is 4 or 5.
We still don't know.
Oh, that's the joys of this show where we fall kind of behind on emails. Sorry about that. And then he says, as always, thanks for all the work you put into the podcast. It's appreciated. Signed, Daryl in Minneapolis.
Thanks, Daryl.
Yeah, thank you. And thanks for emailing. Let's see here. I think so we're good on the stream, right?
Yeah, show's good on my end.
Okay. Let's see here. Let me. We actually have. This is where I was thinking. We have some kind of in order, so we actually have more from Daryl here. Because I think there are some times that we pulled some stuff out of order, and that kind of thing. Or there's even times that he just kind of emailed right in a row, which I'm totally cool with. Thank you, Daryl, for being definitely a regular emailer. Yeah. I think some people have held back because of us being behind, but we still appreciate everyone emailing.
That's one of the reasons why we're trying to catch up, is so that we can alleviate that.
Cody says that would be me. Top 4 and 25 honorable mentions. Hey, I only said it because I would totally agree. I'd probably end up doing the same thing. If someone asked me, what's your top 3 Star Wars movies? I'd probably be like, well, here's my top 3, and then here's the other 7, and how they rank. Oh, man. Okay, so he starts off his next email, Daryl does. Heil Gunslingers.
Heil.
He says, I was just listening to the latest episode where you discussed how we envision Roland and whether we envision him with the hat or not. If you've ever watched the show Hell on Wheels, let's see. The way Anson Mount portrayed Bohannon was exactly how I imagined Roland to look. So let me actually pull up. he actually sent some pictures here. So here is the on screen here for people that are watching the live stream. And if you're just doing it on the podcast, you can look to our show notes and see these pictures as well. So this is what do you say, Anison Mount portraying the character Bohannon, and it is not a show I'm familiar with. But here's some pictures that he sent in for us. What do you think, Peter?
Okay, I can see it.
Yeah,
not necessarily the long hair though.
Yeah, that would definitely, and I'm sure that would be something that would be corrected if someone like this were cast for sure.
Yeah.
And he says,
but I definitely get it.
Yeah,
for sure.
And he says, even the way he portrays Bohannon is how I imagine Roland to be. He was a total badass of a character who was so incredibly complicated, just like Roland. I love the show, but I would struggle with it because I kept thinking Bohannon was Roland. It drove me nuts. If you haven't watched it, you should check it out. It was a really good show. Here's a couple images from the show. What do you think? Could he pass for Roland? And yeah, I think that we both think that he is. And I think it's actually one that I'm familiar with. I've heard it has a reputation for being a good show.
Yeah.
So it's not one that's like new to me necessarily when it comes to like, I don't know, like having not heard of it or whatever. It's definitely on my list. Though my list is fairly long, as mentioned earlier in this episode. I'm behind on a lot of things I already watch, let alone there's a bunch of things I've heard are really good and worth watching that I've never dabbled in yet.
Yeah.
So eventually I'll get there. There's just so much television, man. The old days, it was just like, oh, you only had like 10 networks and like maybe
2 good shows.
maybe like 3 shows worth
Yeah.
watching, and
Exactly.
one or two are actually really killer, and the rest are just like, oh, you could watch it. But now it's just like there's so much you can't keep up.
Yeah.
And it's like a full-time job to keep up with some of these things.
Yeah. No kidding.
Then he actually chimed in shortly after because I think it was the same. Maybe may have been even the same episode. Let's see. Let me make sure. Yeah. He says, "Hi, Gunslingers. You asked to see Dark Tower. You asked to see Dark Tower inspired tattoos. This is Daryl. Still, I attached mine for you to see. I didn't want to go straight Dark Tower reference, but still wanted it to signify Roland. He's always the Wanderer to me." Then I had the first artist bring Wanderer close enough. I guess I can pull it up here.
Yeah, I was waiting.
And he says that I had the artist bring Wanderer close enough to the S so that it could read as the Wanderers for the entire quartet. Pretty simple, but I love it. Thoughts?
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I like that a lot.
And it's funny. Somebody yesterday mentioned to me that like with like my T-shirts, I have a lot of dirty T-shirts. He's like, I always appreciate. He's like, your shirts don't telegraph it. He's like, you kind of got to know what something is to understand your shirts. And I feel like I'd be that same way with my tattoos. I mean, with the one tattoo I have, it's not one that you're just like, oh, look, it's this. Like, no, you have to be like, oh, what's that? And then I tell you, and you're like, oh, okay, unless you're a huge fan.
Like me.
And so I because of that, I appreciate that for sure. With Daryl, I appreciate the fact that it is a little bit more subtle, just because that's more in my taste. Like, Peter, you're like all into like the Ka tattoo. Like, I don't know, like that was like, I wouldn't be opposed to getting a Ka tattoo, but I think it would come after something a little bit more obscure like this to start. That's just me. That's just the way I mean, like me now, like I have the symbol that's on Boba Fett's armor on his shoulder on my shoulder. So it's like one of those things that most people see it and they're just like, oh, it's a skull of some kind. I don't know what. And I'm like, oh, it's a bantha skull. And they still have a blank stare. And I'm like, it's from Star Wars. I'm like, oh, okay. That's just my style. I don't know.
It is.
But no, it's awesome, Daryl. And I also love the Wanderer thing because the song that the U2 did with Johnny Cash, The Wanderer, it's like a post-apocalyptic type song. And every time I listen to it, I think of Roland.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard that song.
Oh, really? Oh, it's a great one, man. It's
I mean, I might have, all the times we've ridden together and you with
I'm sure
Johnny
you,
Cash.
Yeah, I'm sure you've heard it at least a little bit because it's like a U2 song. But it was almost just like with a guest appearance. So Johnny does the vocals, so it's not like a Johnny Cash song as much as like it's U2 playing the instruments. So it's their the song they wrote, but it's just Johnny's voice for it. So it's kind of interesting, but it's like an interesting song. It doesn't totally fit Dark Tower, but it's enough to where it's like, yeah, that's what I'm thinking is Roland.
Right.
But that's just me, I guess. Okay, so I think that might have to do it for this episode.
Cody says his tattoo is going to be subtle too.
Yeah, I haven't totally landed on exactly what I want to do. We have a few more emails, but they're all a little bit longer, and I don't want to put them in a position to where we have to rush through them. We're a lot closer to being caught up than we have been probably since way before the movie, to be honest.
All right.
So yeah, we're there, and like honestly, we could probably do one more show and I wouldn't even say this one was heavy on the emails, even though we said that we were going to do a heavy email episode. We had enough in the news and tangential stuff that we always get into that we split the show about in half. But yeah, no, I feel like we got through a good amount though. But so what are you gonna do? Cough first for your tattoo? You know what we should do is at some point just make a goal and just say by X date we're gonna go get a Dark Tower tattoo.
Crowdfunded. No, just kidding.
Because something like Caw probably wouldn't cost you too terribly.
It was something.
A terrible
it was something that came up. Is my mic sounding okay?
Yeah, I think so.
Are you sure?
I could hear you.
Oh, okay. I don't know why, but it's just me again that's having issues. But one thing that came up was it was something I posed to my wife, and I don't think I ever posed it to you. It was do the top 5 characters in your top 3 fandoms. So like, pick your 3 favorite fandoms, shows, series, books, whatever you're most obsessed about.
Yeah.
And do top 5 characters. So I did mine. I did Marvel, Star Wars, and what was the third one? I can't remember the third one that I did. Oh, Batman. I'm obsessed with Batman. And then it was after I finished, I was like, oh shit, I forgot about Dark Tower. Because it was like the next day after I was talking about it, I came to record with you. Yeah. And I got home and I told her, I said, how the hell did I forget about Dark Tower? She goes, well, who's your top 5 from the Dark Tower? I was like, Eddie, and Oi, maybe Jake, and she's like, well, why don't you get an Eddie tattoo instead of a Ka tattoo? And I was like, for those of you who can't see me, I was just standing there with my mouth open while letting flies in. I was just like, how the hell did I not did not think to get an Eddie tattoo?
Yeah. So
I've been racking my brain on what I should get.
Well, the t-shirt I said a while back.
Shut your whore mouth. No.
Oh man. Yeah, no, I think like what comes to mind instantly for me, a little bit more obscure, would be the tarot card. The prisoner tarot card. You can do like a prisoner door. I mean, there's things like that you could do. Because again, I tend to like go away from more like images of people, like silhouettes and stuff. Yeah. Like we've had some people that have had ones done. They're really great, but you got to be careful. Make sure you get a good artist.
I've seen some horror stories for that, and I definitely don't want like a picture of Eddie, because one of the big things is that unless it's going to be Aaron Paul after he plays Eddie, then I'll do it. But the big thing for me is, like you said, I want it to be something subtle that only a real Dark Tower fan's going to get. And one of the things that I thought of, and it's terrible to do, is why the dead baby crossed the road. It was stapled to the chicken. Just have a chicken crossing the road with a dead baby on its back. I was like, that would be a freaking dark tattoo.
Yes, it would.
My daughter's teacher sees it and, oh, what's that tattoo? Nothing. I just really like chicken crossing the road jokes.
Oh man, well that's awesome. Yeah, so everyone please contact us about t-shirt ideas and things you would be interested in. Not necessarily that you have to like give us exactly the ideas, but I mean if you had ideas that you'd be willing to like send us, you can. But also, what would you be interested in wearing? I guess is more what I care about, is because I wanna make sure that it's catered to what you guys want and what you guys are interested in, more so than just like me just going, oh well, here's some good ideas.
I'm telling you, the first shirt we should make is #TadIsTerrible.
Or Flag was right all along.
No. Don't try and fight it, Tad. You know that people would wear that shirt because they know how terrible you are.
I don't know about that. I don't know.
I'd wear it. I'd wear it over here every single time we record.
Every episode.
Every episode. And then when you did something terrible, I would just point to the shirt.
Yeah, well then it wouldn't be on the podcast. Because again, we don't do a video podcast like you were saying earlier about the show you used to listen to.
Fair point.
All right, so we'll go ahead and close up shop.
Moby Snot.
So first of all, if you want to subscribe to us, you can do that on iTunes. If you want to stream us, you can do it on Stitcher. If you can subscribe, rate, and review us on iTunes, we would definitely appreciate that. For the show notes to see this tattoo, as well as the pictures of the character from the show Hell on Wheels that was pictured for Roland. And if we have anything else, and also I guess the links to I said the tattoo. That's the first thing I said. Yeah. And then I guess the articles that we talked about will be there as well.
Names and everything.
Yeah. So check that out at darktowerpalaver.com. As well as the questions to answer if you're a new listener and maybe you're someone that hasn't chimed in yet to email or anything. You can go ahead and check out those questions there. We don't necessarily require that you do them all, but if you want to pick and choose. We just felt like it'd be a good primer for conversation if you didn't know exactly what to write. So go ahead and find that also at darktowerpalaver.com. And also, if you want to engage with us, let's see, we had Cody and we had Travis. And do we have somebody else? Or I'm trying to remember here.
I think someone else poked their head in but didn't stay and never said anything.
Yeah. We had the numbers went up a tiny bit, but yeah, it was just someone lurking, it looks like. So Cody and Travis, as they did, go ahead and Peter, and you tell everyone how they can do as these guys did, and or how to email us about some of these things.
So if you want to email us, it's darktowerpalaver@gmail.com. You can also follow us on Facebook and Twitter. It's facebook.com/darktowerpalaver. And then follow us on Twitter. It's @darktowerpod. That's @darktowerpod. And then, like Ted was saying, follow us along with live shows on youtube.com/darktowerpalaver. We also have older shows there that has the visuals, like the ones from this show will be there. So if you wanted to watch them there, feel free.
Indeed. And next time we will definitely join back up with Eddie on his trip into Balazar's realm. And as he's going into the bathroom, I believe, is where we left him off. Is kind of making it up to where they're about ready to go into the bathroom and figure out what they're going to do to get those drugs back. So yeah, we will be here in a couple weeks for that, and then like I said, keep your eye on the podcast feed as well for our podcast on The Outsider, which will be one of the first times that we've podcasted exclusively on something that's not Dark Tower.
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken,
it's the only time we've ever done anything outside of Dark Tower Palaver.
Yeah, so it'll be, so it's one of the definitely like the children's shows of this, but it'll be us not really talking about Dark Tower too much. I mean, I do keep part of that show to kind of talk about what linkage a show or a book that I covered may have on Dark Tower, whether it's very obvious like a Father Callahan, or whether it's one of those things where, well, this is at least vaguely like something in Dark Tower and it might be a connection, but it probably is me imagining things. So there's a little bit Dark Tower talk, but overall it'll be talking about something totally different. So that'll be interesting.
Yeah.
So everyone, until next time, as we always say, long days and pleasant nights.
Long days and pleasant nights, folks.
Okay, everyone, or I guess, well, now we have a few extra numbers in here, so I don't know if there's other people in, but that's the end of the show. Kind of back into our normal time slot. It's about close to the same time that we did last time. So this will kind of be the norm. I don't think we're going to do the Unfound Door episode. I guess we haven't thought about if we're going to do it live. I guess we could. So I don't know. It's tough to say. It depends on when we do it too. I don't know.
I don't think we should do it live because we don't know how long it's going to go. That's the big thing, is that we can't put a timestamp on it. Let's do it old school, record it and release it.
Just surprise it. Just throw it out there.
Unfound Doors, motherfucker.
Well, we've left the podcast now, the normal podcast, but people in the live stream, if you're listening to this, I guess it would just depend on how many people have finished it and may want to join in the conversation as well.
Yeah, exactly. So I think it would be better as a podcast than live. Honestly, we'll throw some stuff out on social media, ask everyone what they think, and so we'll be there. Cody, you haven't finished it yet, so I guess if you finish it before then, it's probably going to be closer to next week, or I guess it will be next week because we're at the weekend, so it'll probably be next week is what we're shooting for. So you got a little bit of time to hammer it out and see if you can finish it, but enjoy it. It's a great book. I enjoyed it a lot. So. Thanks for joining us, Cody. Look forward to hearing from you in the future, emails or in the live streams here. It's always great to have you with us. Thanks, Cody.
See you later.